I'm Jessica Anne Pressler, and you've tuned into Your Traitor Within, a podcast that exposes the brutal truths of healing, self-discovery, and breaking free from relentless patterns of self-sabotage. Margaret Josephs is an entrepreneur, author, fashion designer, mother, wife, friend, and of course, best known for The Real Housewives of New Jersey on Bravo. I know Margaret as a generous soul, incredibly loyal, a survivor with a heart of platinum, an empath, brilliant, glamorous, someone who would do anything for anybody. She's been my friend for almost 30 years. We've met when our sons were 2 in nursery school and became quick friends, especially when she came to my rescue, as she does for so many. We've had many adventures together. I've even dragged her to, let's say, unusual events, stigmata.
Yes.
And she went
Oh
with
God, I
grace.
forgot about that one.
And she went with grace, and she has shared experiences with me as well. I am so proud of her and honored to call her my friend. Margaret's mother, Margaret Kiss, joined us on Your Traitor Within earlier this year, and I am ecstatic to welcome Margaret today.
Oh, Jessica, I mean, literally, that made me teary-eyed. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you. I
You
love
are,
that. The woman you were speaking of. Jeez, that was like, you're so impressive. Jeez. Thank
it
you.
is you. And
Oh, thank you. That was such a beautiful introduction. I can't believe 30 years we're a duo. Jesus.
it's crazy, right? But we've had our experiences, we've had our adventures, we've had our crazy, and God knows I bring you down my
But
crazy.
that's what makes us so bonded and human and such a beautiful relationship. So, wow, wow, that is nuts. I can't believe it's so long. I mean, but you and I just kept getting more youthful. I mean, we have good
That's
plastic
it.
surgery.
Right.
That's the good news.
That is very true.
And you visited me during my surgery, so I'm very blessed.
Uh-huh.
That's the good news.
Well,
Yeah,
thank you for letting me into that because
yeah,
you have opened
no,
your.
of course, no. And I'm just so lucky to have you as one of my BFFs for so many years, and we have so many experiences and, so much history, and our kids grew up together. So, and look at how far we've come in our lives and where we started and where we are now is just crazy. Like, it's just so different. I mean, if we could have predicted when we started, when our kids were at nursery school together,
Mhm.
flash forward all these years, it's a little crazy. I
Well,
would
speaking
never
of,
have thought this is where we would be.
oh, no, not at all. Because when I first met you, you were just starting to do decoupage on buckets,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I
And you,
just was starting my company. You were, you were pregnant with your daughter, and
mm-hmm.
it was absolute. I don't know. Do we say our kids' do you say your kids' names? I don't say my kids' names in
I don't
public.
either. Yeah,
Okay. I just
yeah.
want to make sure you were pregnant with your daughter, your youngest daughter. Your hair was super long. You didn't even curse. You called me a potty mouth. I was a known cursor even then, though I curse less now.
And you
Um,
tried to influence me, which
I
you
tried
did.
to influence you into bad behaviors. And yeah, so but it's just, yeah, it's absolutely insane. You were married to 2 husbands ago.
Uh-uh.
You're my Elizabeth Taylor, and I was married to my ex-husband, who's since passed. Yeah, so it's really this is a full circle moment.
It truly is. I mean, I remember, so one of our adventures, besides, as I said before, the stigmata I dragged you to in some house in the middle of, I forgot where,
I
Jersey,
think
Jersey City or
Jersey
something.
City, and not in the good part.
No, it's historical. That was one of the crazies. But the other one was a psychic that
Uh-huh. We
sat
love
with
a
us.
psychic. We love a
Right?
psychic.
We loved a psychic, and the psychic told us, I remember that we were prostitutes in a previous life.
Not shocking, not
Not
shocking.
shocking. And then I was going to write a book. So
And you are, and which is all true, which is all true. So, obviously correct.
mhm. But we
Yeah.
have but we have gone through many adventures together.
Yes, yes. And I love every single one. I wouldn't change anything because I think it makes us who we are. And even though some were amazingly high, some were amazingly low, painful for both of us.
Mhm.
Um, but our heartaches, make us who we are. So I think, they're important in life.
It didn't unfortunately make my book, but it's an important little story that I want to say, and then I want to move on to just you. But
Okay.
so I was going through this very traumatic moment in my life, and this just shows you about Margaret being an empath. And I find out something which I can't say now because it'll be in my book, but I find out this incredibly devastating piece of news that I didn't know.
And I call Margaret, and it's, in the evening. We had spent the day together. We went to a carnival with our kids, and
Yes.
we were wondering where my husband was because he was just like MIA. But I finally find out what the answer of that was. I call her. She comes over with her son, who's very young, and in 2 seconds, I mean, she was there. Like, it wasn't even a question of do I come, do I not come. She's at my doorstep, and I'm
I
standing
remember this
strong.
too.
I open the door with her and her son, and she falls into my arms crying
I
because
know. I should be consoling you, but I find out what it is. I almost fell to my knees. I was so upset. I was devastated. I was like, ah, but I was crying. I was hysterical, but we pulled it together and
uh-huh.
immediately did what any good friends would do. We immediately did retail therapy.
Yep, we did.
We did a full glam makeover. Because Jessica had super long hair, we cut her hair. We did, shopping. We did everything we were supposed to do. I did everything to boost you up, and we're like, we're gonna fix this fucker. We're gonna, and that's it, right?
And take me out. And I met all your
And took her out.
more of your friends, and we just,
Yes,
I
we
just,
did. Yes, we did everything, to boost you up and make you feel fabulous. And yeah,
and
I
trip to Pastides and
and we
drop
went to
off the kids,
pasties and go
and
out in the city and do all the fun things that we were supposed to do.
as
And
well as sit and listen to me constantly. So I just
which
want to
is
point
that's
out,
fine. You know what? You were very easy and you were easy to be supportive of, and all good things happen. But it was just, I was like, a bit like, we're cutting our hair, we're going shopping, we're going out, we're going to live our best life. It was just, yeah.
yeah, and always good, always amazing advice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
But it just shows you what kind of person you are,
Oh,
what
thank
an
you. Thank you
incredible
so
soul
much.
you
Thank
are.
you.
And it's
Oh,
not
I
just what
love
you've
you.
done for me. I've seen you do it for so many other people as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, listen, I think that comes back to my childhood, like, which we're going to talk about. So,
Yes. Maybe this is a good
growing,
time to start to let me
yes,
to share your childhood, to share your journey,
yes,
your
yes.
Traitor Within story.
Mm. And I'm drinking coffee, which I just want to put out there. I've drank since I'm 4 years old,
Ah,
which most 4-year-olds didn't drink coffee, but I always say I was very European. European kids drink coffee because my mother grew up in Hungary. I was raised by Hungarian grandparents, which is very funny. I was always very adult, so of course I'm drinking my coffee still to this day. Uh, Addicted, but it's just very funny because I didn't realize little kids don't drink coffee, and there's one tradition. I did pass on to my son. He drank coffee at a very young age.
I remember.
I mean, I think by kindergarten he was drinking coffee,
Mhm.
which is very funny, and it did not stunt his growth, FYI.
Oh,
Like people told me it was going to, uh, which is fine. No, but I thought about my Trader Within, especially since you've been working on this, and it's so brilliant. And growing up with Marge Singer, who we're so close, but she was not a traditional mother,
mhm,
and we're only 20 years apart. And I was very much an adult little girl and a parentified child, which I did not realize clearly as a child because you wouldn't know that. You just only think your childhood's normal. You think everybody's childhood is the same as yours.
mhm,
I was privy to too much information. I basically, raised myself. My mother would confide in me like I was her best friend. Obviously, you don't do that to your kids.
mhm,
So, I knew too much. I worried too much. I always felt like I had to take care of everything. I was the responsible one at 8 years old. I was letting myself in the house after school because I was like, I don't feel like going to my grandparents. And my mother's like, oh, okay, you don't have to go to your grandparents. You don't want to go. I mean, who takes advice from a freaking 8-year-old? So,
mhm, mhm,
but to me, I was like, oh, that's normal.
mhm,
Oh, that's normal. I'm the cool one. I could do whatever I want. I'd be making my lunch at 8 years old. I mean, this is really true. My mother never made my lunch to go to school.
mhm,
It never, she'd wake me up once and like go to work. It was just, she
mhm,
was caught up in her own thing. She was cocktailing too much. She was a party girl. It was the 70s. She did the best she could. I'm not trying to trash Marge Singer, but this was my experience.
mhm,
Um, I knew she loved me, but she was just not, I don't think she was playing with a full deck at the time.
mhm,
Um, but I just thought it was normal, to me, I saw I was starting to, realize maybe it wasn't, in my head, I saw other little kids,
Hmm.
um, their child life, granted, my mother was single, which I saw other kids, had a mom and a dad. Um, but that isn't what really made me feel bad, but it was just like, the regular dinners, the not going out so late, the parents making sure, the kids, sent them to school with lunch and they made it, or just responsible, or I was always late for ballet class, that, the responsibility of the parents of everything else. But, in my head, I was making excuses always for Marge Senior.
Yeah.
I was already starting to make excuses in my head, or, oh, well, my mother works, or this is okay, this is normal, we're the normal ones, or but we're the more glamorous ones, well, I have the best outfits, or I could do what I want, or and then my mother, um had the married boyfriends, and I was like, well, Marge Singer, I make excuses about that. um she would have me lie about it, don't say
Hmm.
anything, and I was like, okay, so now you have to lie for your parents, that became
Hmm.
my norm,
Right. A lot
which
for a little girl.
was a lot of pressure. Me
Hmm.
not realizing it was a lot of pressure till years
Sure.
later I went to therapy. But I was always, making things right.
Hmm.
I would call my grandparents to try and fix things, or, mom, you did that, and then my mother would get mad at me. Don't be a tattletale.
Oh, okay.
It was kind of like, don't tattle on me to my parents kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Um, And I was like, then I'd feel guilty. I'd be like, having to protect my mother. Like, it was a very weird thing. Um, but then as I got older, I resented her a little bit. We had some tumultuous times. Um, but I knew it, it wasn't normal, but certain habits are hard to break, right? It's like
Yeah, that's right.
I married my first husband.
Mhm.
And again, I made excuses. I knew certain things weren't normal, but I tried to make them normal. He was 20 years older than me,
Hmm. So
and
the
usually
same exact age as your mom, right?
exact age as my mother. Well, a year apart. And, I wanted someone, my goal was like, oh my God, I didn't have a traditional family. I didn't have this. I wanted someone who was a great dad,
Hmm.
um, who was a great father. Jan was a great father. I want, but then he was like, you're only having one kid. Well, I mean, who says that? And I'm saying, it's like I was a young girl, but I was like, okay, I guess that's okay, you know. And so I was like, all right, I'm only gonna have one child. Fine. The next thing was he was uh I had to pay for my own wedding. Well, this man was very wealthy,
Hmm.
but he didn't feel like he was wealthy. He was much more wealthy than I was. I was a young girl. My mother didn't have a lot of money. I was having a beautiful wedding in New York City. He's like, well, I have to pay for my kids. You should pay for the wedding. If you want this wedding,
Hmm.
even though we're getting married, you should pay for the wedding.
Hmm.
Um, and I justified it as like, well, he has to pay for his kids. He's divorced one time. I'm working, I'm successful, which I was. So again, I made an excuse. That should have been a red flag,
Hmm. Hmm.
but I ignored red flags. My whole thing was like, I'm not going to be like my mother. I'm not going to be, getting married boyfriends and never getting married and never, doing these things and having a traditional family. Um, I'm not going to let some guy push me around. And that's exactly what I had.
Hmm.
Meaning he wasn't married to someone else. He was
Hmm.
married to me, but he was like bossing me around. All my mother's boyfriends bossed her around,
Okay.
called the shots,
Hmm.
did all of those things. She had a boyfriend, Joe, not like my Joe. My Joe's a doll, but her
Yeah.
Joe was a piece of shit.
Hmm.
Called the shots, was jealous, made her feel shitty. And Jan was like, not like that. But he wasn't jealous, but he called the shots.
Hmm.
And I never, it sounds petty. Someone be like, so who cares? You never picked your own car. Well, I was a young girl. I wasn't, you knew that.
But it's
I,
control. No, but I'm saying, but it
it was
was
control.
control. It was
It was
control.
control, but I made excuses. All right. So what's so bad? I get a new Lexus every, 2 or 3 years.
Hmm.
Anybody else would be happy with that. Well, the truth was I wasn't allowed to pick the color. He would come home with a new car. And that's, shut up and put up. Say if I didn't want to drive a Lexus, well, tough shit, that's what you're getting. That's a good car, and be quiet.
Mhm.
It was just like, this is was the rules, and that's the way it was. I'm not paying for the wedding. You do this. You do this, you do this, you do this.
Mhm.
Everything was about the rules. And that's kind of what my mother had, but it was just a very weird thing. And I was a young girl,
You were
and
very
I was
24.
I was 24 when I
Yeah.
had met him.
Hmm.
I got married when I was 27, had a baby by the time I was 29. But by the time I had my son, things started clicking. I was like, I'm not putting up this shit. I was like, I'm not going to be like my mother. She tolerated anything. She was just like, well, if they're good to you, that's the way she was with my boyfriend. Well, if he's good to me, if he's buying me things, I'm going to put up with this stuff. I was like, I'm not fucking putting up with
Well, and what is good to me is it doesn't
what is
necessarily.
good to me. Because yeah, I was like, good to me is like a big deal. I have a nice house. I have a housekeeper. I have this. I still work. I do things. That's not good to me. Financial things to my mother equated,
Right.
I think because the way she grew up was like, he's
Mhm.
good to me. He's paying for things like shut up kind of thing for her. I was like, I'm not doing that. I
Mhm.
work, I make that's not what that means to me. So, I started to come to my own and realize, this isn't healthy. So it was like I started going to therapy and same thing. It's like, as soon as I had my son, I was like, starting to work issues out with my mother as well. I was like, no drinking around my son. You want to be around me? No drinking. And it's very interesting because, I was combative with my mother then also because if she would drink around me, I'd blow a hemorrhage and I'd be obnoxious to her. I didn't know how to handle it. And everybody in my family, meaning my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my husband, oh, you're so mean to your mother. How do you talk to her that way? I was like, you guys don't know the history. I don't want to be around someone who drinks. It's triggering to me. So that was a little stressful for me. Everyone made out like, Margaret, you're nuts. And I was like, I'm not nuts. I was just like, so then they would make me question myself. Oh, you're such a bitch. You're so difficult. You're so this, you're the sick one. And I was like, no, I don't think so. But it was very hard to hold my ground.
Hmm.
Um, in general. Uh, if I wanted to be more successful and be driven in my career, I was made to feel guilty that, not from my mother, from my husband at the time. It was shameful to like nice things. It was shameful to strive um, to be overtly successful and like nice things.
Oh.
Don't do that in front of my family. Meanwhile, as well as I do, we lived in a very wealthy area.
Mhm.
I had full-time help.
Mhm.
I was in the Hamptons in the summer.
Mhm.
My kids went to sleepaway camp. We but it was shameful to wear overly designer things, drive too fancy of a car. People will look at you. Don't make a scene. Don't be flashy. Don't be. And I was like, I'm not overly flashy there, but it was shameful to like nice things. So I was like, is it me? Should I not like nice things? It was just so many things
Mhm.
being thrown at me at once. And I was
Well,
like,
and squashing who you are.
and squashing who I am. And I struggled with that because I would make excuses. I was like, all right, maybe they're right. Maybe, I have a good life. I had a much better life than I did when I was growing up. I was, um, I was much more successful, than anybody in my family at that time. I had a much more beautiful lifestyle than my mother did, than everybody else, than growing up.
Mhm.
I'd elevated out of what I grew up like, immigrant parents, next generation. My son also, it's just like a very privileged life from where I'd come from. And then I was like, well, why is it bad to want more and give more to your family and all of these things? And but the noise in my head was like, well, why, you know, why can't you just be happy? Just put up and shut up. Because my mother did a lot of putting up and shutting up, even though she denied it. I could give an example of one time my mother said to me, and I brought this up to her recently. I had a boyfriend, this guy Carl, I was in college, and she helped him pick out a necklace for me. And listen, I am brutally honest. Everybody knows it. And I wasn't being bitchy about it. Um, and he got me a necklace. It was very juvenile. It was hearts, diamond, not even diamond little hearts, gold little hearts. I fucking hate hearts, FYI. No one buy me hearts. Everybody, Joe would never think of buying me a heart. No, my family. It was these little hearts. He got it for me. And I just, at Christmas time, and I said, do you mind if I exchange that? My mother goes, you're an ingrate. You're a disgusting ingrate bitch. Why would you do that? You hurt his feelings. Da-da-da-da-da. Now, his feelings weren't hurt. He's like, oh, your mother helped me pick it out. My mother was offended
Yeah.
because I said it was good. But I was an ingrate. I should shut up and put up. That was like,
That was the message.
that was the message.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you talking about? It's okay. I'm allowed to say,
Mhm.
I, she was like teaching me to shut up. I'm sure that's what she was taught.
Mhm.
No, my grandfather wasn't like that. But I was just like,
But
what?
maybe,
I
but
was
maybe
like,
women do it. Maybe your
women
grandma
do it.
do it.
And I'm not allowed to, have an opinion. I should not be, though she was so independent and working, but like when it came to men,
Right.
she was weak.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I remember that day so clearly. And I was so upset. And I went in my room and I cried. And I was like, why are you being this way with me? And she always took the side of the men against me. It was very weird.
Hmm.
And I was very taken aback, but it was the way she was taught. So, that stuck in my head a lot. It was just very interesting. So sometimes, that behavior came back to me. I put up and shut up a lot. Well, this isn't so bad. I have a great life. It made me stay in my marriage longer. Um, you know, I have a lot. I'm very privileged. I was like, what the, and it, up until I went to therapy and realized, this is no way to live. And I'm not, I wasn't happy and I was and I was denying who I was. And I was bringing a childhood trauma into this, part of my life.
Hmm.
And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not doing it. And it wasn't healthy for my kids to see, me have an unhappy marriage. It wasn't healthy for my son to see this. It just, for this kind of combative thing. I mean, listen, I pulled a stunt of like the way I would tattle on my mother. I would tattle on my in-laws, who were the
Hmm.
greatest. It's a
Hmm.
tattletale. I didn't know what to do. I would call up my in-laws and say, Jan's misbehaving. Da, da, da. I mean, they'd come and run and rescue me. They were the best.
So they did come and help.
Oh yeah, they were the best. They
Good.
were the
Good.
absolute greatest humans ever. I mean, my brother-in-law would also step in, um, because I didn't know what to do. I was like a little girl. I
Mhm.
didn't know how to handle it. I
Mhm.
didn't know.
Well, you
Um,
weren't taught the skills. The messaging and modeling was to allow it to happen because as long as you were getting financial rewards, it was okay.
yes.
Then you do, you ignore everything else.
Listen,
And
I can remember one time so clearly with Jan. I mean, the dog got sprayed by a skunk.
mhm,
Tiki Josephs was sprayed by a skunk.
mhm,
The house stunk to high hell. He let the dog in the house. I said, please don't let the dog in the house. We have to give him a bath with tomato juice, or I have to call the groomer. Let the dog in the house. My whole house stunk of skunk. I couldn't sleep. It was
mhm,
disgusting. I took my son and myself. I went to my friend's house. Um, I said, I can't stay here. Went crazy. Did not want me to leave the house. I said, I can't sleep here. I was sick. My son also had asthma. That's how bad the skunk smell was. We had to go to my friend's house. They made us get dressed, undressed, in their like little foyer area. When we got there, our clothes stunk of skunk. It immediately had to go in the wash. We had to get in the house and shower. We stunk of skunk. I was hysterical. I said, I'm not coming home till the house is fumigated. I had to
mhm.
stay there for 2 days. The way he got me back to the house is he came home with a new car.
Oh, wow. That's what he knew.
He knew, but that's how sick it was. That's how sick the situation was.
Yeah. Wow.
Margaret, I'm going to go get you a new car. But I fed into it. I played the game, which wasn't right. It just wasn't healthy. Um, and he wasn't a bad person. It's just like, I think
But that's what he knew.
that's what he knew.
So that was his
But
stuff.
I don't know, it's so weird because my in-laws were so not like that, you know? They were such a loving, you knew them.
Yeah.
I don't know what this was or whatever it was.
Mm.
He was such a, they were such loving, good people, and I adored them. And it was it was very traumatic for me. And listen, I knew I was going to have to leave. I adored my family, adored my children. You knew that. And it
Mhm.
was, and I was thinking, but I knew I'd have to feel safe. So that's again, I had to have my business set up. I had to be successful. Um, I was upset, and then I met Joe,
Mhm.
and and he was a confident, loving, nurturing man. I couldn't help but fall in love with him. He was
Well,
so
he was
different,
pure. He was
pure.
pure. Yeah.
He was so different than any man that I ever knew,
Mhm.
and it like really healed me. It healed me and saw that, this isn't the way life is supposed to be.
Right.
This isn't, and it was a very, very hard decision for me.
I
Um,
remember.
that took time. I was like, and of course, again, in my head, I'm going to uproot my family. I don't want to be divorced like my mother. I don't want to repeat these mistakes. Look at me. I'm with a married man the way my mother was. What am I doing? And I was like, you know what? I have to do something for me. I was always taking care of everybody
Well,
else,
I remember because I was there through this, and
Yes.
it took a very long time for all the reasons you just said. But I remember you because you cared so much about other people, about
Yes.
what you were going to do to the other people in your life.
I
So
know. And yeah, and being, and I made sure everybody was okay before I left. My ex-husband got the house. I still got dragged. I made
you
sure everybody was taken.
you continue to take care of Jan
Yeah, I made sure everybody
above
was
and
taken
beyond.
above and beyond. I made sure everybody was taken care of. No one suffered financially. Not my ex-husband, not myself, not my children, no one. Everybody, I waited till everybody was set up perfectly. I just want to make sure. Yes, was there emotional trauma for sure, but I had emotional trauma. Everybody had emotional trauma. And then I went on a TV show and, I talked about it. And listen, I got dragged publicly. I never, people don't understand, I think sometimes, they have to see where everything comes from. So I'm so happy I'm doing this podcast. Um, I did make sure everybody was okay. Yes, everyone's like, oh, you should have left sooner. No one knows people's relationship. No one lives in someone's home.
Correct.
In the end, yes, my children also had childhood trauma.
Mhm.
My stepkids. My
Mhm.
son was, he had some, some hurt, but he was okay
Mhm.
because, he had a healthy mother, who worked on
No,
herself.
but
And
it's true.
he had,
You were the stability for him.
I was very stable. I didn't do what my mother did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like we're very open, very doting, very, all of those things. Um, he he was okay. My other children, who I love and adore, and thank God my boys were so close, and we're very close in age now, and everything's okay. Didn't have healthy parents always. Their mom also must have obviously very childhood trauma. Is a very unhealthy individual and passed on things to them, so they felt very abandoned, though they were grown adults.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, so that brought up a lot of stuff, and that was very, very hard on me.
Mm-hmm.
But I could no longer go on betraying who I am.
Right. And that's really important to note.
Yeah, I could not do it. I was like slowly dying inside. It was just like I was going through the motions. And that wasn't fair to Jan. That wasn't fair to my family. That wasn't fair to me. I was mentally checked out. When I was with my kids, I was great. But I said, we were the greatest family, not the greatest couple. And I wasn't myself. And I could not no longer live that life. So I feel like that's, what tricked me, into like believing everything was okay. And then after years of therapy and meeting Joe, it changed my perspective on life.
And you
Um,
also want to be a good example for your kids.
yes, exactly. And healthy relationships. And,
Mhm.
and my son always says to me, you have such a healthy relationship now. And I'm with such a wonderful man. And, I feel very blessed. I mean, do things still slip in, saying, okay, this is okay. Do I want to fix everything? Yes. Am I overly responsible? Yes. I can never have a normal mother-daughter relationship. Never. That there will never be that. You can never go back to that. There
What,
never was one. So there never will be one.
what would you like it to be with your mom if you, or what is the,
Well, it can never be one. It just can never be a mother-daughter relationship. I can never have what I have with my son. I can never have with my mother what I have with my son. My son, like I always say that to him, the way he and I are, the way
Mhm.
that he can come home and come to my home
Mhm.
at his age, at 29, and get a breakfast in bed and feel safe and never have to worry and all this, that I've never had that.
Because you provided a place where it's safe and unconditional love,
Yes.
where he could be a kid. He didn't have to
At
take care
any
of
age,
you.
I've never been a kid. I don't know what that is. I
Hmm.
don't,
Although he's an old soul, because I
he's
think,
an old soul for
but
sure,
that,
but
but he was, yeah,
granted, we were both drinking coffee at a young age. He knows,
that's okay.
which is fine. That was my childhood, but my childhood was never, and I'm not saying feel bad for me. It's not that. It's just that I will always be the one who takes care of everything for
Right.
my mother, for our family, for everybody.
So
Joe
let,
will take care of us. You know what I'm saying? But I have a great husband and a great spouse. We're an amazing team. But,
so when
you
that
know,
part of you, that part seeps in, you're triggered, and how does that when the traitor within comes in and
yes.
do its dance with you? How do you put her away, or how do you?
I mean, sometimes I have a rage.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, sometimes I have a total freak out.
Mhm.
I could get triggered very easily.
Mhm.
Sometimes, and other times I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do? That's the way it is, that's my life. But I recognize it. I've created much better boundaries
Mhm.
in my life. It's okay to say no. I
Mhm.
can't fix everything.
Mhm.
Um, and I think, I've worked really hard on that. I've become much better doing that. Um, and I've worked on that. But listen, sometimes I just, do have a temper tantrum. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, what does it feel like in
Freak
your
out.
body when you can't fix something? Like
Oh, I have a freak out. I freak the fuck out. I like have a freak out. Like I can't even handle it. Like
Mhm.
I mean, Lexi always says to me, I am like overly responsible and I feel responsible to do it. Joe isn't like that. He doesn't feel responsible to fix everybody's shit. But
Mhm.
anybody in my universe, I want everything to be great. I want to fix it. I want them to be happy. I want it to be good.
A huge responsibility that you have on.
It's a tremendous responsibility. It's a tremendous responsibility. I mean, just from the simplest things of just like I said to Joe, people cannot come home for Thanksgiving unless the guest rooms are totally ready. The wallpaper up, this, that. I had to have the beds delivered. I'm like having a freak out. I'm up all night. You know, just things like that, like churning in my soul. I can't handle it. It's just like because everything had to be handled. Well, I had to handle it myself as a
Mhm.
child. I'm just gonna say point
Right.
blank. My mother never did one school, and I love her, but she had to work. In defense of her, the woman did have to work. She was preoccupied with her 37 boyfriends because she felt shitty. I was with my grandparents. Like my grandmother didn't speak English. My grandfather was working, who was great, but like they weren't Americanized. I did all my own school projects. My mother was always taking, she wasn't even home to take me a ballet class. My grandfather's like an employee was taking me to ballet class. Um, I figured everything out on my own. I mean, one college, my mother didn't even know where I was. She didn't even give a shit where I was applying to college. Didn't ask me about my college application. Nothing. I mean, could you imagine we did that to our kids?
No, of course not.
No. I mean, it's just like,
But think about that you were able to
no,
do
yeah,
it
do it. Yeah, no, no, no. I mean, listen, I always
without.
say I could have been a stripper or a drug addict, or I turned out like myself, overly responsible. I find myself, I am very capable. So of course, I also get frustrated with people who aren't very capable because I'm like, come
Right.
on, man, which is
So,
ridiculous.
so
But
have you ever felt relaxed?
no,
Wow.
when I feel relaxed, and this is the only time I do feel relaxed when I'm laying on my sofa
Hmm.
with Joe. I could decompress when I watch like Netflix or television,
Mhm.
and I just lay there with the Dairy Queen.
And do you, yum. And do you feel that that Joe relax because he's there makes you feel safe?
Yes, I feel safe with Joe. It's very
Yeah.
important for me to feel safe with someone like a Joe. Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Of
And we could
course.
lay on the sofa. My home is very peaceful to me. That's why I love to be here. So, people think I'm like this go out and I love to be out all the time. Yes, I love to go out. I love to go to dinner, but my favorite place is to be home on my sofa. I don't have to deal with anybody. I could lay here, I could eat what I want and not think. And when I don't have to think about the thousand things I have to do to make sure everyone else is okay,
Yeah.
it's like, listen, my mother is a single person. I love her dearly, but even though everyone's like, well, it's not your responsibility, it kind of is. It has been since I'm little, in my head or whatever it is. And she's down the street. And I mean, the woman gets a flat tire, she's calling us, even though I'm like, you do have AAA or whatever that is. It's just like,
But
it
Joe
is.
takes but Joe helps you with it right now,
Oh,
right?
Joe, I'm
He'll
so
go take care
grateful
of the
because
tire.
Joe, yes, Joe,
Yeah.
thank God, Joe is so capable,
Hmm.
and
That's
thank
not
God I have a team member, we're a team.
right. So even so, it's hard to undo that relationship you have with her and that you take
Yes.
care of things. Joe helps you with it now.
No, absolutely. And I made a very conscious effort not to emotionally unload on my children ever.
Mhm.
Never calling them hysterically crying, never calling them, giving them emotional unload or anything like that. I always try and be, listen, my kids see me cry, absolutely. I'm human, whatever it is, but I'm not going to emotionally unload on them. The death of my ex-husband was one of the most traumatic things in my entire life. You came home, which was I was so grateful for. Um, People are like, how's that possibly as your ex-husband? He's the father of my kids. I did grow up with him. We had a tumultuous relationship, but we were also best friends. I grew up with this man. I was with him since I was 24. I was
Big girl.
married. I was married to him for 20 years. Um, and we have a son together and we were together all the time. When he died, I was very, very strong. I was very strong for my children. I was very strong for everyone around me. His girlfriend at the time, who was with 3 years,
Mhm.
you know and I think she's a lovely woman, but that was the love of her life. She was with him for 3 years, but I was like, this is the father of my kids. I grew up with him. I know my whole life, but I was trying to be strong for her. And my kids had to be strong for her, and I didn't think that was fair.
Mhm.
Truthfully, that agitated me. I never even have said that out loud till later. I was like, you should be strong for my kids, like I was strong for my kids. And
Mhm.
they were consoling her. I was like, not cool, to me. I
Mhm.
was just like, that upset me, but I really lost it after the fact. I held it together for everybody. I made sure that Shiva was beautiful at my house. You were
Mhm.
here. It's like it was the Shiva of all Shivas. You know what I mean? It was like I wanted it to be beautiful. I wanted it to be memorable. I wanted it to be special. Like, I wanted everyone to feel good. But then afterwards, I had to go away for a month
Mhm.
so I could grieve. Because everybody was just like, well, Margaret's the strong one. I think that's also the other issue I face.
Right.
Well,
Right. And
Margaret's the strong one. Margaret doesn't crack. Margaret does crack.
because you're human.
Yeah, I'm human,
And
And
people,
I think, yeah, and I think people forget that.
hmm because you come, because you do come across so
Yeah,
strong.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I think healing takes a long time, getting over certain things that are learned and your childhood trauma and things like that. And it's, you just have to recognize it.
Right. And so how it played out when romantic relationships, at least with Joe, he doesn't trigger that piece.
No, not at all.
So he's
Not
because
at
he's a
all.
different man. So
Yes, he is the best. I mean, Joe has his own issues. He's abandonment issues. And I try and I don't, I only triggered it once for him when we were first together. I didn't call
Mhm.
and I didn't come home in time and he had a total freak out. So I know not to do that.
Yeah, because and how wonderful that is because
Yes.
when I do couple work with people, you teach each couple what triggers each other so they don't take it personally,
Yes.
but we come to them with empathy and compassion and we try to make it easier for them. And you did that.
Exactly.
You're a wonderful
Exactly.
you're a wonderful then girlfriend spouse because
Yes.
you
No,
love
yeah.
him enough not to want to do that to him.
No, I don't want to do that to him. No, listen, it's very important for me to feel safe
Hmm.
and that everything's going to be okay and taken care of. I mean, listen, I don't want to lie. Joe has triggered a few little things.
Hmm.
Um, one time the front door lock didn't work correctly. I went absolutely crazy.
Hmm. Hmm.
That has to work.
Because you want to feel safe.
I want to feel safe. And it's physically safe and emotionally safe.
Yeah.
And I can't have that. I
Hmm.
always sleep with the burglar alarm on. I'll tell you why with the front door. My mother, one time growing up, the front door lock didn't work for like 8 months.
Oh, and
She
you
didn't
as a.
fix it. She was, very negligent.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I can't have it. I cannot have it. It causes me the most anxiety and trauma.
So I'm sure that will never happen again.
No, no,
You'll.
no. It's like just anything, any behavior that my mother did, if Joe ever does it, or just inadvertently would do if anybody does, I go fucking nuts.
Mhm. And Joe, knowing Joe, understands that.
Yeah, oh, he totally understands. And you know what I'm saying? And it's no insult against my mother, it's like she was young. I mean,
Hmm.
she was a young woman trying to do her best being a single mother and having her own trauma. I mean, she is horrible trauma. And
Hmm.
I understand who it is, but it's just like,
But this is the reality of your
this
childhood.
is the reality of my childhood.
Right. So it's not about blame, right?
No, it's not, I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming her, but this should happen.
This is what happened. This is how
Yes.
why I have those messaging and modeling. This is the trauma that occurred. This is what I had to do to make myself feel safe.
Yes,
This is what
exactly.
popped up in my adult years. This is what I do now to feel safe.
Yes, exactly. And the most important thing was to make, my kids, my family feel taken care of and loved and safe and have
Right.
traditions and do things, that I always wanted.
Yes, and you go big.
I try. I really, really try. I try really hard.
Yeah, and you go big not just with your family, because I know you go big with your friends too.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I love my friends. We're very blessed. We have amazing friends for years and years and years and years. So it's so good.
But you open your home, you open your heart. I mean, this, I don't know
Oh,
if
thank
everyone
you.
knows this about you because you see a certain thing on a
Yeah,
show,
they see a certain thing on the show.
but you really are the most loving and compassionate person that would do anything for anybody.
Thank you. No,
And you do
thank
open your home to the world. I mean, to
thank you.
your friends and
Thank
to.
you. No, I shockingly, being on the show, I've not become jaded to people. I still love people. It's very easy to be on reality TV and become hardened, but it has not hardened me. I still love people. I love meeting new people. I love letting people in. I don't want to lose that part of myself. I mean, it could happen very easily because you get burned a lot.
Oh,
But you do. But I have not lost the love of people.
hmm.
So, which
I,
is good.
I remember because I left and went to California when it just started for you.
Yes.
So when I remember seeing you in California, I don't know, it was a year or two later, and we went out to a place, forgetting the name, and you were so gracious and wonderful with people that came up to you,
Oh, thank you.
and that and saw the real you, and which is open and wonderful for everybody, really.
Thank you. No, I love people. I love meeting new people. I love hearing about their life. Yeah. So I love that. That's one thing I really love. That's like the greatest part of the show is meeting fun people,
Hmm. Yeah.
and it's interesting and hearing their takeaway.
Is there anything that you want people to know about you now that you didn't mention?
No, I think I said it all. I think I said it all. You know what it is? It's just like I think everybody, especially, what they know about me, I think they see it. I think a lot of people I keep my family, my kids very tight to me. And I think that's what it is. I think the only thing people don't see is about the mothering side of me, me being a mother, but that's okay because, certain things have to be private.
Hmm. And
They
that's.
don't get to see that publicly, but that's all right because the people who are meant to see it, like my kids and everything else, that they need that side of me. Certain things don't need to be out there and
Mhm.
publicized.
And a choice you made to
And
protect.
a conscious choice I made, my kids didn't choose this life, this public life, I did. And that was important because you don't want to make choices for your kids that they don't want.
Hmm. Yeah. Again,
Yes.
wonderful mothering on your part.
Thank you. Thank you. Trying.
And
Thank you.
anything you want to say more about the Traitor Within?
No, no, she's she always pops up her little head, but I just have to recognize her and just keep her down, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
But she's a part of me, like, everybody's is part of you, it's a little part of your personality, but it's okay.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, we can have compassion for that part. She tried to do what's right for you. She just
Yeah,
didn't
exactly.
do
It
the
was
right thing.
the little traitor's little coping mechanism, she made it okay and she got me through a lot.
Hmm. But now you don't need her.
But now I don't need her. No, I
Margaret,
don't need her.
I love you.
I love you, Jessica. Thank you for having me. This was very therapeutic.
Oh, good. Bye, honey.
Bye, baby doll. Thank you.